If you're reading this book, grab your tissue boxes. Grab your tissue box. I don't even know what book 2 is going to look like because I don't think anyone's going to make it to there. A line that's been crossed, and I'm scared. I'm very scared. This honestly might be my favorite book of the year. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray. Today's video, we're going to be doing a reading vlog. However, I am so indecisive and I have no idea what I want to pick up next. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. So I thought maybe what we could do is read a couple sentences from books that are on my TBR cart, because those are on my TBR cart, and just see which one catches my attention the most, and then kind of figure out what I should read based off of that. I just finished The Housemaid. I feel like that was such a bingeable book and I read it so quickly. I just want something that's going to really make me want to lock in and read the way that I was that book. So I don't know, we'll read a couple sentences from each book and see which one makes the most sense to pick up. But I don't know, I'm feeling so weird. Like, I just want to keep reading. I want that fast-paced book, and I feel like fantasies sometimes are a little bit slower, especially when it's the first book in a series. I can't decide if I want to do something like The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna and read my first Kristen Hanna book, but I know it's going to be devastating and it's really long, and I feel like I just need another short, fast-paced book. But I feel like I could really get into something like that. There's Thorn Season by Kira Azar, and that one I wanted to read initially when I saw it and it came out, and I feel like it's going to be a quick fantasy. I think it's a YA fantasy. I also have Red City by Mary Lou, and I feel like that one is one where I have to really lock in. It's a big book. I need to really pay attention. I feel like it's going to be very political and very heavy on the fantasy aspect of it. And I could also just do something like Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez and something a little bit lighter. I don't know if I'm in the mood for a romance. And then what else could I do? I could read a hockey romance. I feel like that could be fun. I just don't know if I'm in the mood. I don't think that I'm in the mood for a romance. And then on the other end, we have, you know, lit fic, where I could read S Against You by Frederick Bachman. I could also do, oh my gosh, I could continue the Emma M. Lyons series, because those books are so short and sweet and so witty and funny and whimsical, and I just feel like it's such a fun read. And the found family has just been so fun in that book, and I feel like I haven't picked up that in a while. So you know what, maybe we'll read the third and potentially fourth book in the Emma M. Lyons series. That could be fun. And part of me just really wants to get into Red City by Mary Lou, even though it's going to be heavy and not fast paced, and what if I slump myself out because of it? But I feel like it's going to be good. Now, Mary Lou, she was a very popular author for, I think it was her Legend series. I don't know what it was called. I never read it, but I know that was a very popular series of hers. Yeah, Mary Lou, she was a popular author and she wrote the Legend series. I think that's what it's called. I never ended up reading it, but I knew about it. And then she just came out with her first adult fantasy. It's called Red City. When I read the little blurb, I knew that I wanted to read it immediately. And then I just had some other books I was reading. And then I ended up one night, I just started picking up The Housemaid, and I was like, let me just see what it's all about. I knew I wanted to read it before the movie came out, and I just got hooked. So I couldn't stop. I was like, let me just finish this before I dive in. I feel like whenever I'm reading one book and focused on one book, I'm in that book. But then if I'm reading multiple books at the same time, I kind of get lost in the different worlds. And it is kind of like watching different TV shows if you have different genres lined up. But then I feel like they all take me a little bit longer to read and finish. So maybe I should just bite the bullet and start Red City, because that's what I've been wanting to start. I might do that. Okay, so this is going to be a reading vlog. We'll see how many books I get read in here. I might be reading underhyped fantasy books that I haven't heard about. I have not heard anyone talk about Red City, so I am excited to read it and share my thoughts and opinions on it. I also haven't heard anyone talk about Thorn Season by Kira Azar, so I'm excited to read that too. I feel like they're going to be two very different books. So we've got a YA fantasy and an adult fantasy, so we'll see how it goes. Grab your favorite drink, grab a book, and come hang out and read with me. So crazy they're mentioning Mandarin, the restaurant, in a fantasy book. Wednesday and I have the morning off, so I'm excited to just lock in and read today. I was gonna go to the bookstore because Indigo is doing something where they're giving away their best book of the year for $15 if you purchase another book, and then A Dark Forgetting by Kristen Cicerelli just came out, I think, today. I could be wrong, but I was gonna go get those 2 books and I'm like, I have so many books, I don't need to go do that, and I'm probably not gonna get to either of them right away, so what's the point? Yeah, I'm not gonna go to the bookstore anymore. What I am gonna do is we're gonna go make a coffee and sit and read for as long as I possibly can. I'm currently reading Red City by Mary Lou. This book is different than what I thought it was gonna be. It's been very interesting. I got to page 48 last night, and yeah, definitely different than what I thought it was gonna be, but in a good way. I'm really enjoying it. After I finished The Housemaid, I was nervous about what book I wanted to get into next. I didn't want anything too heavy or too time consuming because I feel like I finally was at a point where I wanted to keep reading after that, and it kind of helped me get out of the little slump that I was in. But this book, I was nervous getting into it because I knew it was going to be a little bit heavier and there was going to be a lot more to it than reading something like a thriller book where you're just constantly wanting to turn the pages. But I feel that way about this book where I just want to constantly turn the pages. So I don't have enough of an idea of the book yet because I'm still only about 50 pages in. I'll try to give my thoughts about it right now. This book is set in an alternate Los Angeles. So it's been interesting. I haven't really read a fantasy book that's been set in the real world yet. And I'm really enjoying it. I feel like there's been references in here of things like Mandarin, the YMCA. I've never seen those references in a fantasy book before, so it's been interesting. We have our character Sam, and her mom works at the Mandarin. Sam is very different from other students and her classmates, where she can read something and consume something very quickly and just be able to remember all the details of what she's read. The thing is with her is that she's not performing well in school. She's not doing well on her test because she's not trying, but she consumes all the information. She knows everything. She's very intelligent in that way, but to her, the world only makes sense the way that it actually makes sense. Given a problem to solve on a class test once where it asked how many tires are on this car, and there was 4 tires there, but she wrote 5 because she's like, there's always a spare in the back of a car, but her teacher marked it wrong. Things like that, where she's and the way that she thinks is very straightforward, and it might seem out of the box. She sees things for what they are, and she only can make sense of things in that capacity. And she's very curious. She's a very curious character. She always wants to know things and figure things out, and sometimes she gets herself into a little bit of trouble because of that. And then on the other end, we have Ari. Ari's backstory is a little bit sad, if I'm being honest. He lived in India with his family and his parents, and someone had come to his house and talked to his mom, and I guess there was some exchange made where he was going to be paying the family for taking Ari somewhere else and putting Ari through a program that he wanted to put him through. So Ari had to leave his family not knowing if he was ever going to see them again, not really understanding what's going to happen because he was younger, and he got taken by this stranger he'd never met before, and he's been put into this school for things like alchemy and then also just regular school. Ari is having to integrate within a society he's never been part of. It's a new country. He hasn't had any communication with his family either. The person who brought him here wouldn't let him write letters back or say anything to his family, so he's kind of just been on his own. And both these stories are so interesting because they're both very different characters. Ari has it in his head where he has to do really well in school and in this program that the person brought him into in order for his family to get money sent back home. So if he doesn't do well, that could jeopardize his family's well-being because his family isn't well off. And so he is studying all the time. He's very studious. He's always studying. He's constantly around the clock trying to get work done all the time, to the point where he is working the hardest he can to possibly get his A's that he's getting in school. And on the other hand, we have Sam, who he sees as this person who's very intelligent and able to remember things and regurgitate lectures from their teachers that they've said when he's asking her questions about things, but then is getting C's and D's in school. So 2 very different characters and very different ambitions for different reasons. And I just feel like I haven't read a fantasy book where I've had characters from such diverse backgrounds in this capacity. And so it's been really interesting. And I just feel like this is definitely different than what I thought it was going to be. But I can already feel that this book is going to have a huge impact on me just from the first 48 pages. It's so different from anything that I've read before. And I just feel like it's exactly the kind of book that I needed in the fantasy genre to get a fresh taste, a fresh outlook on the genre in itself, because I feel like I've been reading a lot of the same things, and maybe that's the reason why I haven't really been itching to pick anything up that has similar plots and storylines to what I'm used to reading. I just needed something different, and this is different, and this is great, and I'm loving it. I'm so excited to get back into it and read it today. I do want to at least try every day to read at least 50 pages of the book. We'll see how far I get. I'm gonna go make a coffee, and then I'm gonna go read for a little bit. I also have to edit a video, so I'm gonna be doing that a bit today too. See where the day takes us. I might go to a coffee shop and read. It just depends on how much time I have left in my morning before I have to go and you know, do other things. That's my update so far. I really am enjoying it. I think this is gonna be a life-changing book potentially. I'm excited for that. It's a lot sadder than I thought it was gonna be. Hearing things about their family situations and with with Sam and Ari. It makes me sad as a parent myself, some of the things that are happening in the book. I started tearing up a little bit at certain things because it's just certain things like, how can you talk to a child like that? Sam and her mom have a very complicated dynamic. Her mom came from somewhere else, so she's been working really hard. She's, you know, just getting by to pay the bills, and she's very much so just told Sam to get good grades in school. That's all she wants Sam to do, but Sam isn't performing in that way. So her mom, she has a temper, and so sometimes there's things that happen that just make me really, really sad for Sam. And I don't know, just being a parent and seeing that and the way that it makes Sam feel and getting her thoughts about the situations and how she feels about things, and just having these lifelong impacts from little actions that her mom is doing, it just breaks my heart a little bit as a parent myself. And just seeing that the way that she talks to Sam and certain actions that she takes against Sam, although Sam in her head is like she didn't mean to do stuff like that, it's still, she said, this will always stay with me, this will always be here in the back of my mind. So there's certain things about this that are just like, it's been a little bit sad, but I'm breaking my heart just a little bit, but like I am invested in their lives, and I do want to know what's gonna happen. And yeah, that's where we are. So let's go make a coffee so I can get to reading. I'll give a little update in a little bit when I've read at least a little bit more into it. I can probably give you a better summary too in a bit, but let's go make a coffee and we will see where the day takes us. Hayden Panettiere and Milo, can't say his last name, but it was called Heroes. It was on Netflix for a little while, and I don't know why this book is giving me those kinds of vibes of that show, but it's giving me the vibes of Heroes. I mean, it's not the same in terms of the powers and everything, but it's giving me that kind of vibe, like the Heroes vibe. If anyone knows what I'm talking about. reading books, grab a tissue box because you are going to be sobbing. I'm almost halfway through the book. My heart has shattered more times in this book than it has for probably any other book that I've read. There's just so much going on. The chapter I just read, we got a perspective from the mom that I wasn't expecting to get. When you first meet the mom in this book, she's got this very hard exterior. She's very strict. The way that she interacts with Sam, you kind of feel bad for Sam in a way. And then we got her perspective and how she got to where she is, moving from where she was, coming to America. We get her side of it, and it's so devastatingly heartbreaking that you feel so much for her and you understand why she's making the decisions she's making. And that's why it's so important to always try to understand people the best that you can and try to get all sides of the story, because you never truly know what anyone has gone through and how they got to where they are and why they are the way they are. And this hard exterior has been there because of what she went through when she first came. She was promised this American dream. She was promised a better life for her and her kid, something that a lot of immigrants go through when they do move and they try to move away from their home country and try to get a better life for them and their family. And so she's moved away and she's moved to this place where she was promised this American dream, this better life, this life where she could spend time with her daughter and still be working and still just provide for her child. And then it turns out that that's not at all the way that it went, and it was very hard for her to find a job. I feel like we're getting a really good side of immigrants and stories of them coming into America and everything that they're faced with. She takes so much of the real world and puts it into this book, and in the way that she's doing it, Mary Lou is beautifully crafting this story. I feel like she takes little details that she puts in that you might not think are going to be a big part of the story, and then she brings them back up later and kind of wraps them up into a nice little box and presents it to us. And she's done such a good job with making those little details matter and executing them in a way where we're getting backstory on those details. And yeah, I feel like the story is really well crafted and she did a really good job. The characters are all very complex. She's done such a good job with the characters. The plot is really, really good. I like the flow of it. I think it's really good pace. The storyline is so incredibly interesting to me. I haven't read anything like this, and I feel like it's just exactly the kind of book that I want. There is no doubt in my mind that this book is going to be a 5-star. The ending would have to be completely just like out of the blue for me to even think of rating anything less. I'm not even halfway through, and that's how I feel about the book. It's such a good book. I highly recommend it. I would check trigger warnings before jumping into it, just because there are some things and some topics in here that I think could be a little bit triggering for people. So definitely check trigger warnings before you jump into it, but I could not so far. I would recommend this to everybody. I'm going to make my mom read this when I'm done because I feel like she needs to. I feel like everyone needs to at this point. It's so good. And I feel that way right now, being almost 50% into the book. We'll see how I feel being further in, but I just want to get back to reading. All I want to do is read this book. And today's Friday, so it's on my work day and I'm going into the weekend, so hopefully I can just read a lot today, read a lot tomorrow. I'm so interested to see where it goes, and I'm pretty sure this is a series. I hope it is, because I am not ready to say goodbye to any of these characters. So I'm really hoping it's a series, at least a trilogy. You can give me more of this because this is really good. But yeah, there's so much of the real world and the real world elements that are being put into this book that we're getting a lot of perspectives from different people and their stories, and it's just, it breaks my heart, the things that the mom went through and what she's trying to do to protect her daughter. And her daughter is, I don't want to spoil it, but like her daughter is kind of just a little bit not defiant, but she's very curious about the world and about things, and she always wants to help and make things better. But like with being young and vulnerable, it can lead to a lot of things that maybe aren't the best for her. And so just seeing how this is going to play out based off the mom's backstory and what's going on, and this is just, it's all been very interesting, and I can't wait to read. So I'm gonna get back to reading and I'll update in a little bit. I'm sure I'll have a ton more thoughts. I have never annotated a book to this extent where I've run out of my sticky tabs. So if that doesn't tell you how good the book is, I don't know what will. Maybe my rating at the end. So stay tuned, but I'm gonna get back to reading and I will talk to you in a little bit. Last night, but oh my god, things are getting so intense so quickly. The confrontation that I was anticipating happening at the end of the book, it happened now and we're not even halfway through, so I don't even know what the rest of this book is going to be like. So these to Sam and Ari. They were childhood best friends and they always liked each other more than just friends, but they had never told each other they felt that way about each other. And now being in their adult worlds 5 years later from that, they both have these other, I wouldn't say love interests, just people that they're kind of vibing with a little bit, that like it's nothing compared to the way that they felt about each other, but they never knew. And so you have these two childhood friends who liked each other and never got to express that, and now they're on opposite sides and they're both potentially going to be at war with each other, and they still haven't told each other that they like each other. And there's all this other stuff going on, and this is the book that I needed right now. This was the right place, right time for me to read this. This is exactly what I needed, and it's so good, and there's so much action. We are not being left with any filler whatsoever. It's all constantly moving. The plot is moving at such a good pace. I feel like I haven't read a book, at least a fantasy book, where the plot has been moving at the exact right pace. This is like the right everything, right pace. The plot's great, right book, right time. I could not say more good things about it. Again, I have such high hopes for the ending. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a series, and I don't know when book 2 is going to be coming out, but this book, this is what you need to pick up if you're feeling like you're slumping or you want a fantasy book set in the real world that is just different and just so well put together and so well crafted. Sam is someone who remembers everything that she's ever read, that she's ever told, places she's been, faces she's seen, and seeing how it's playing into the role she has with the side that she's on is really interesting. And then it's funny, she's someone who's not very well noticed, but she can remember everything about everyone, and so people kind of just pass her by. People bump into her and don't really think anything of it. Whereas Ari, on the other hand, he's someone who is very charismatic. He gets a lot of attention from people, and he's very well noticed, and people like him and people get along with him. So it's like two opposites, two very different people in different circumstances, both being kind of like the lethal weapon of each side that they're using. And it's all just been so interesting seeing that. But yeah, Sam's memory is insane. Like it's crazy that she can literally remember everything. Why am I shipping her with 2 different people? This book has some of the best pacing that I've ever read in a book before. There are no lulls, there's no fluff thrown in. It quite literally is just moving forward in such a good pace. I feel like it's the perfect pace for a fantasy book like this. I'm really enjoying the pace. I think it's moving so fast, and every chapter makes you want to continue on and read the next chapter. And I feel like I only ever feel that way really with thriller books, where I want to keep turning the pages and I don't want to put down the book, but I feel that way about this book. And there's no lulls, it's all just really fast paced, and I'm really enjoying it. But there's always someone who has it worse. Not to minimize anyone's experiences, but holy crap, you don't know what anyone's gone through. This book is heavy. This book is really dark. It's darker than I thought it was going to be, and it's really heavy, so definitely check trigger warnings before you read it, especially if you're a parent. But just in general, there's a lot of darker topics in this book, and I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't know about these, but it's not going to spoil anything if you check trigger warnings. But holy crap, like, this is so much darker than I thought it was going to be. I was not expecting that, like, at all. I'm in shock. Like, I'm in shock. I genuinely did not think that that was gonna happen. This book, holy crap. All I'm gonna say is don't get too attached to anybody in the book, because what the actual heck. There's still over 100 pages left in the book. All I'm gonna say is Mary Lou is not afraid to hurt your feelings. So I said this once, I'm gonna say it again. If you're reading this book, grab your tissue boxes. Grab your tissue box. Survive the ending of this book, so I don't even know what book 2 is gonna look like, because I don't think anyone's gonna make it to there. This has just gone so out of hand, and there's just so much going on that I just feel like there's been so much damage done to a lot of the characters and a lot of what's going on that there's no coming back from it. Like, there's no coming back from what just happened. There's no way to fix anything that just happened. There's a line that's been crossed, and I don't see a way out for any of these characters. Now, I feel like I heard something about this being a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so we kind of know where that goes for the most part, and so we'll see what Mary Lou does with the ending. I have no idea what a book 2 would look like when there's been so much done in this book, so much damage, so much trauma, just so much done to these characters. You just want to give everyone a big hug because they've gone through so much, but like, it's self-inflicted too. Like, they're doing it to each other. There's no going back from it. How much more can happen in book 1? What is going to be left for book 2 if book 1 has everything and anything under the sun in it? It's just, it's gotten crazy. It's gotten out of hand, and like, I don't want to stop reading, and there's still 100 pages left, and I feel like we got so much in the first 300 pages that I have no idea what else could possibly happen. If you're looking for a fast-paced fantasy, this one you don't want to put down. Like, pick it up because it's so fast-paced. It just flows really well. There's always something happening. There's always something going on. There's always like some scheming happening. There's just like a lot going on, but I don't know what's gonna happen in the last 100 pages. I'm scared. I'm terrified of what this ending is gonna be. I've had my heart broken about 1,000,000 times in reading the first 300 pages, and I have no idea where it's gonna go from here, but I'm scared. I'm scared for the ending. I'm terrified. So let's keep reading. I'm hoping to finish it today and give my thoughts and reviews and everything, but holy crap, like, I've had to take so many pauses after reading things because it's such a dark book. I don't think I've ever read a dark fantasy. I don't even know if some people would consider it that, but to me it feels very dark, and there's so much in there that I wasn't expecting. It does get a little bit gory, and it does get a little bit intense with certain things, and I find myself feeling nauseous at certain parts of it. But like, I think reading this made me realize that maybe I'm not ready to read Alchemized anytime soon, but this has been, it's eye-opening for sure, and I'm scared. I'm very scared. Less than 20 pages left, so I'm going to finish it now. In part 3 of this book, we've been getting a lot of characters, perspectives, and POVs that aren't the 2 main characters. So it's been interesting to see their side of the situation that's going on. And this is a character POV that I wasn't expecting. This book was through and through a 5-star. I have never had a book give me 5-star feelings right off the bat like this book did. I knew from the beginning that it was going to be a 5-star and that the ending would have to be so drastically different and just so out of the whack for it to change from that. And it was through and through a 5-star book, and it ended up being a 5-star book, and I just like, I can't wait. Mary Lou is like a genius. I need to read her entire backlog of books at this point because wow, this was good. This was so fresh, so well thought out, so well crafted. This book is a dark contemporary urban fantasy. It's set in an alternate Los Angeles where we have two rival factions essentially. So we've got Grand Central and we have Lumens, which are two competing organizations. They're both working to create this drug called sand, which is essentially a perfection enhancing drug. So if you take sand, anything about you that's good is enhanced. So if you are very outgoing, very communicative, it makes you more outgoing, more communicative. If you're very pretty, it'll make you even prettier, but it also does enhance your insecurities and your weaknesses. So if you're someone who's very shy and very unseen, you're going to be even more shy and unseen in the world. Or if you're someone who's very nervous, it's going to heighten that into anxiety. While it has its pros, it also definitely has its cons. And so these are two organizations that are creating this drug, and so they're competing against each other. Now the thing about these two organizations is that if you're part of one or the other, you are not allowed to talk or be in conversation with people from the other organization. And if someone finds out that you're talking to someone or giving someone information about anything, it is punishable by death to a certain extent. We have our two main characters, Sam and Ari, and Sam and Ari have been childhood friends, like best friends. They're very close. They never really shared anything about their personal lives. They were very much so surface level friends, but they had this deep bond, this deep connection that was unexplainable that just drew them to one another. They're both people who came from outside of North America. We have Sam, who her mom Connie came from another country in hopes for this better life, and then Ari, who was taken from his family in India to be this apprentice for Lumens. And we have Sam as well, who, like I said, they're childhood friends, and she ends up being on the side of Grand Central. So these are two childhood friends. Fast forward to 5 years, they haven't seen each other in 5 years. The first time they see each other, they find out that they're on opposite sides and they can't really trust each other, and they can't really have any sort of friendship or relationship because of the fact that they're on opposite sides. So much has changed in 5 years. Like, they know each other, but they don't really know each other at this point anymore. So it very much did feel like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it was so well done. Very interesting storyline, very interesting plot, and that's what initially drew me into the story, was reading the blurb and seeing what it was about. It's just so different. The magic system in this book is alchemy, so that's also new and different to me because I haven't really read about that in any fantasy books. The story really digs into the themes and topics of immigration, cultural identity, as well as the idea of belonging. There's a lot of characters in this book who just want to belong and feel like they're part of something, but the whole idea of immigration is very evident, and just cultural identity, but also losing that cultural identity. We see that through the character of Ari and him being stripped from his home of India and being brought into this new world. You can see him over the years slowly losing parts of himself that were connected to his hometown and his family because he's been away from it for so long. And then also with Connie and Sam, and Connie's Sam's mom, she came to North America for a better life. She was sold the idea of the American dream essentially, and she came there for a better life. She was told she could make more money there, that she could build a better life for her and her daughter, and lo and behold, she gets there and it's nothing like what she expected. And I feel like that's so true of an immigrant story, and it's just the harsh realities of immigration in general, is coming to another country in hopes for a better life and really being left with a lot less than you would have had. And so she is dealing with that, not having achieved the life that she thought she was going to have for her daughter. And Sam is someone who's very ambitious and very curious and also just wants to do better. She's someone who, when she was younger, was very appreciative of the little things and never wanting more, but she finds out that there is a life where you can have more, and so she wants to indulge in that. She wants to have more. She wants to build a life. She wants to be able to help her mom out. And so in doing so, we're seeing themes of greed and power and money, and how little decisions that you make can have big consequences. This book also really dives into the idea of what will you give up in order to protect the people that you love and your family. To its core, this book is about the consequences of choice and your decisions, how even the smallest decision can irreversibly alter the course of your life. I feel like at a certain point, Sam becomes the embodiment of corruption, and she just shows readers how greed and wanting more can lead to disastrous outcomes and dangerous situations, and how that greed and that want for more and more and more can really hollow out a person to make them a shell of themselves, of who they once were and the values they once had. It kind of explores the idea that even decisions that are inconsequential can have really big, powerful consequences that are not always positive, that can be very negative. Even the smallest decisions that you make have a big impact. I feel like Ari and Sam are constantly haunted with the question of what if. They're constantly asking, you know, what if we were different people, or what if we lived in different places, or what if we didn't join the sides that we joined, or what if we made the different decisions that we did. There's this constant overall arching question of what if, and I feel like like that's something that a lot of people struggle with in real life, is like, what if I did this differently, or what if I did that differently? What would have been the consequences or the outcome of it? This book is pretty dark. I'm not gonna lie, this book is pretty dark and at times very gory. As a parent, a lot of the things with the relationship dynamics between the parents and their kids really pulled at my heartstrings. It was really just dark at certain points where I was tearing up, and I had to put the book down and just give myself a second. This book is grounded in the ideas of ambition, class, and struggle, also just the ultimate price of survival. I think that the slow burn in this book was so beautifully crafted and so beautifully executed. This is exactly what I want in a slow burn in a fantasy book. Exactly what she did here. I want this done again and again and again. The slow burn was so well done. I feel like so much happened in this book to the point where I didn't know what was going to be left for book 2, because I know there's another book that's going to be a part of this. I don't know if it's a series or going to be a duology, but so much happened in here that I thought, what is going to be left for that story? And this plot was just so fast moving. There was always something happening, even if, you know, alongside like the main plot, there were always little things going on as well. So it just made the story really quick and really fast and fast paced, and you just wanted to keep turning the pages. And so when we got to the end of it, the way that it left off, I'm content with the ending. I'm content with it, and I'm excited for the next book. Although I do want the book like yesterday, I'm happy to wait, because I feel like the ending it got to a point where it wasn't a jaw-dropping ending, but it's still wrapped up in a way where you want to know what's going to happen in book 2 and what that storyline is going to look like, but at the same time you're content and you're not feeling like a hole in you from having read this and not having the next book in your hands immediately. So I just feel like this was one of the most well-crafted, well-outlined, well-thought of stories that I've read in a very long time. She put so much effort into making sure the little details that we got throughout the book had a way of coming back around to being part of the storyline, and I just feel like sometimes I'm reading books that's not always happening, where there's little details but then they just get forgotten throughout the story. So I can tell that she really took her time in crafting the story and really making sure all the little details had a place in the story, because there was so much about this book and about these characters that made it so incredibly nuanced and complex, but in the best way possible. We have so many characters with such different backgrounds and such different personalities. They're such well-crafted characters. It's just so well done. Like, this is an author who deserves so much more recognition across all platforms, and I just feel like I need to read her backlog of books because the story was incredible. I cannot wait for book 2. I'm so excited. 5 stars through and through. If you've never read a book of hers, definitely pick this one up. Again, it's an adult fantasy. Definitely check trigger warnings, and like I said, it's very dark and at times gory, and so I feel like it's important to know, but such a good story. And I feel like I've been really lucky. The 5-star gods have been good to me, because I've had a lot of 5 stars recently, and this is just another one on there. This honestly might be my favorite book of the year. Like, I loved it. I love this book. I can't say enough good things about it, and I just feel like it not only had a story and the romance was there, but I didn't feel like it was overtaking any part of it, but I took so much out of this book. There's so many conversations that are so important, not only about immigration and the story of an immigrant, but also just the relationships in the book. Not only the romantic relationships, but also the familial relationships and the toxic relationships in the book. You're getting so many different sides of so many different people. I feel like a lot of people could connect to a lot of different parts of this story, and I feel like that's what made it so good. I feel like it's such an authentic story, and it's so real and raw, and it's such an impactful story. I feel like I could talk about this book all day long. If you stayed this long, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to keep up with my content, and I hope to see you in the next one.